It's time for a history lesson. As of the time of this video's production, we have received confirmation that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's release date will be on February 29th, 2024. Roughly 2 months away. And I can assure you, I will be vanishing off the face of the earth for at least a week upon its release. People who know me, on this game's release, I don't exist. No paper trail, no digital footprint, don't call me, don't text me, I don't exist to you.
Why?
But I may be streaming it. Assuming my PC is upgraded by then, who knows? Follow Grey Supernova on twitch.tv/GreySupernova, #shameless plug. But for those who aren't mega dorks like me, sucking on all the new information like jawbreakers, you may or may not have missed the fact that these remakes are actually more akin to a sequel. Meaning the original game and all of its spin-offs are canon in some form or another and will most likely hold a significant amount of weight in the overall story and progression of Rebirth. So, in order to get the full experience, I thought it might be a good idea to play the previous games as well as experience the media in the compilation of Final Fantasy VII to better understand what is going on and what may happen. So, I took on the task. Okay, no problem. Shouldn't be too difficult. After all, what is the compilation of Final Fantasy VII composed of? Holy Jenova! Okay, so there's a decent amount to discuss. And with no way to be certain on what may be important to know about FF7 going forward, I'm going to attempt to cover as much of the lore, characters, and story of this expansive world over a series of videos leading to Rebirth's release, so that you don't have to. This series is dedicated to those fans who may have forgotten a couple of moments and details, as well as those who see a shiny new game and want to be able to partake in the theory discussion at your local playground. If you want to go into Rebirth completely blind, or plan on getting into the compilation yourself, please click off this video because I will be spoiling these games worse than the milk in my fridge. So please give me a like and sub because I had to suffer through this for you.
Long has it been since I faced a worthy opponent!
Mother!
Don't make this all for nothing.
I've always wondered, how does materia let you cast spells exactly?
According to the philosopher Confucius, to define the future, one must study the past.
The past is forever, but the future, even if it has been written, can be changed. So focus on the future, not the past.
Shut up, Aerith, no one asked you. And because human history and the world we inhabit depresses me, I'm choosing to focus on a virtual made-up world instead. First, some key terms about Final Fantasy VII's world of Gaia as we know it, beginning with the life stream.
The life stream courses through our world, ever flowing between the edge of life and death. If that cycle is the very truth of life, then history too will inevitably repeat itself.
The planet's blood, or essence made of the spirits or souls of all creatures. It is the life that has inhabited the planet, as well as the life that will inhabit the planet. When a living creature dies, it returns to the life stream. There it is recycled and mixed to then be imbued into something new on Gaia to live its life and repeat the process, similar to reincarnation. Legit though, would be kinda messed up to die, have your spirit recycled, only to then be imbued as a f***ing ficus. There is also Mako, and yes, I am pronouncing it as Mako. Mako is essentially the life stream that has been processed and refined. Like oil, it resides below the planet's crust. It is pretty versatile and is mostly used as an energy source, but once burned up, it is gone forever, making Mako a very finite source. When the life stream or Mako becomes condensed, it forms two different types of stones. Mako stones, which are used in Crisis Core to increase your overall stats and are the base form of what is the second thing, materia. Materia are colored orbs that allow its users to use magic and skills as well as summon gods from various cultures, similar to Persona. Yeah. Oh Jesus, no, put that away! Materia is also, in itself, magical, capable of changing its size when placed into weapons and equipment. Or at least I assume that's the case because these things are beefy on their own. These orbs of power have different colors which categorize their utility. Green is normal magic ranging from elemental, non-elemental, status effects, buffs, debuffs, and big boy nuke damage. Yellow is command skills, like Death Blow, which gives critical hit damage if it ever f***ing lands. Steel.
Like if you're a broke boy, just say so.
Double cuts. Fight that! Hammer Punch, on those occasions where you just really want to deck someone in the face. And my personal favorite, Enemy Skill, allowing wielders to learn certain enemy techniques. Let's see how you like it. Fuck! Purple is independent materia, used for changing stats directly or affecting how the character commands function in combat, and also out of combat, but we'll get to that much later. Winky face. Blue materia is categorized as support materia. It has to be paired with other materia in order for it to work. This allows for some amazing combinations, like All and Haste, so that the whole party's ATB bar fills faster until the end of battle or they die. It also speeds up their idle animations, making everyone look like they just downed 500 milligrams of caffeine mixed with blow. And finally, red materia, which summons kaijus and deities capable of doing massive damage and effects. Those poor anthropomorphic toads. What the fuck? Naturally condensed materia is said to be pretty rare, with springs taking dozens, maybe even hundreds of years for a well to spring. Materia has a connection with the planet itself, holding knowledge from beings known as ancients or Cetra, depending on your preference. Through their knowledge, people can use materia to call upon the planet, thus summoning forth magic. However, materia, while not necessarily rare, is not something one can just use. It takes a toll on the mind, requiring training to understand and use. So is there like an IQ threshold or something? The Cetra were people that were stewards of the planet, capable of even communicating with the planet for wisdom or guidance. Regular humans are people who decided to forsake their duties as stewards and form settlements and civilizations in response to the Cetra's extinction. The Cetra, as of the start of Final Fantasy VII, have essentially been wiped out, with only Aerith being left. How do they all get wiped out? Well, why do I hear boss music?
Heaven's Dark Harbinger, the Calamity, Jenova.
Jenova, the Calamity from the Stars. Over 2,000 years ago, an alien being fell from space, landing in the northern continent of Gaia. Upon arrival, it began impersonating inhabitants to get close and infecting them with the virus. Insert COVID joke here. The virus transforms the host into monsters. Jenova's abilities resemble that of an Among Us imposter. She is capable of taking on the form of its prey as well as those her prey knows. Family, friends, foes, luring you in before going in for the kill. Once all life on the planet she's invaded is exterminated, she uses the planet as a vessel to traverse the universe in an attempt to find another planet and repeat the process. Little by little, the Cetras died until in a final ditch effort, all remaining Cetra banded together to detain Jenova. With Jenova and the Cetra gone, human life continued as if nothing happened. Insert COVID joke here. But it would seem that before that battle took place, the planet itself decided to create a deterrent against Jenova. Kaijus that are named after gemstones, referred to as weapons. While the function of some weapons remains a mystery, we can infer that each one has an area or terrain to cover. Ruby weapon, desert. Emerald weapon, deep sea. Ultimate weapon, sky. So on and so forth. We'll be getting more into them in time as they show up in the compilation. And now, with all of the lore of the land explained, let's go over the big factions that constantly appear. There are a decent number of these factions in the compilation, but the biggest one is none other than the Shinra Electric Power Company. Okay, look, we will go over every detail of this company throughout this series, otherwise it would take up the whole damn video, so the too long didn't read version is, Shinra Inc. is the company that is responsible for everything that happens in Final Fantasy VII. Every character has some ties to this company. Reason being is because Shinra runs the planet, leaving the anti-Shinra eco-terrorist group Avalanche to stand against it. Shinra became so powerful because they're the ones who discovered Mako energy as an energy source and built a monopoly on it. They built the reactors that are pulling Mako out to begin with. Shinra uses the money from Mako production to fund their projects both for the world and for themselves. The Shinra building is the epicenter of Midgar, the city of Mako. It's a city that resembles a pizza. 8 sectors, 9 if you include Shinra HQ, with 8 Mako reactors powering it. There is the wealthy side of Midgar, which is above the plates, and the slums below. Not much is known about what each sector is best for. Like I stated in Final Fantasy VII Remake that Sector 7 is where some employees and troopers live, but that's about it. In the slums, life is rough. It's very stick your head down, do what you have to do to survive, sleep, and repeat. The air is heavily polluted due to the Mako exhaust coming from the Mako reactors. And while we're at it, throw in no consistent or clean drinking water, poor living conditions, no actual sunlight, and gang activity. Why wouldn't you like Shinra? Shinra Inc. are made up of 5 divisions within the company. Advanced Weaponry, where mechs and weapons and materia are made. Research and Development, consisting of understanding every life form in existence while throwing ethics out the window onto an oncoming train. Urban Development, trying to make Midgar hospitable and then getting denied for everything because big corporations don't give 2 shits about human life. Space Program, dealing with aerospace and pushing past the planet's atmosphere into the great beyond. It's not a publicity stunt, I swear. And Public Security, aka the Shinra Army. While Public Security is the division of the Shinra Army, they are known as troopers and not soldiers per se. Reason being, there was actually a separate division called Soldier, founded with the purpose of being better than everyone else and actually falls under the Research and Development umbrella. No, not that one! However, if we're considering the fact that it's run by this waste of human flesh,
as breathtaking in death as in life, as you, my dear.
We're not too far off. People who pass a series of screening tests are showered in Mako energy. It's a process that not everyone can manage to suffer through, but those who do gain amazing power, enhanced agility, and unfathomable abilities that make you look super cool at parties. Unfortunately, in exchange for power, you also enhance cellular degradation, thus shortening your lifespan.
Accelerated cellular degradation being the most common cause of death by far. This is classified, of course, but every soldier knows the truth.
Soldier is split into 3 divisions, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st class. Very few actually make it to the 1st in comparison to the other ranks. If you do achieve 1st though, you are considered the best of the best. You gain the ability to decline missions, get the best gear and weapons, and choose your own clothing in case the sleeveless turtleneck sweater ain't your style. Another faction of Shinra are the Turks. Turks are the investigation sector of the General Affairs Department, a subdivision within the Public Security Division. Confused yet? They focus on intelligence gathering, black operations, and scouting for potential soldiers. They may answer to the head of Public Security Heidegger, but Vice President Rufus Shinra is where their allegiances lie. And while it isn't important now, I will briefly touch on Deep Ground. Deep Ground was built underneath the Shinra building in Midgar, deep below the ground. Oh, I get it. While reactors 1 through 8 surround Midgar, there is another reactor below Shinra HQ called Mako Reactor 0. Home of Deep Ground. Here, morality does not exist. Here people were experimented on to push the limits of what a soldier could be. It is composed of soldier members, Shinra troopers, or people who showed abilities beyond just fighting. That's all you need to know as of right now. See you bastards at Dirt of Cerberus. Okay. Did I miss anything? Are we good? Okay. I think we're done with the preamble. So now I have to make a decision. Do I go through the FF7 chronology in order of their release, or in order of the overall timeline? Well, considering I've established that spoilers are ahead, I feel like the surprise reveals in FF7 shouldn't matter in this chronicling. Again, I recommend playing the original FF7 first if you want all those twists and turns to land properly. All this to say, we're going through this compilation chronologically to the timeline. Now, because some of this stuff overlaps, I'm going to attempt to keep it all within a certain set of the compilation per video. For example, the novels, On the Way to a Smile, Turks, The Kids Are Alright, and the movie, FF7 Advent Children, take place within the 2 years after the original FF7's ending. Now, Final Fantasy VII's calendar is very similar to ours actually. The only differences are February has 30 days every year, and instead of Jesus, we have Jenova. OG Final Fantasy VII takes place in late 2007 into 2008 on this timeline. Therefore, this compilation ends in 2010. So, without further ado,
let's start the show.
I acknowledge that Shinra owes the planet a lot. It goes without saying that my company and I are the ones who put the world in the sorry state it's in.
Over 2,000 years before the original FF7, Jenova, yeah, that bitch, came down from space, got picked as the imposter, and murdered 99.9% of the Cetra population. Humanity continued to thrive until the founding of the Shinra Manufacturing Works. Up until now, everything was coal-powered. Once Shinra stepped onto the scene, they discovered a way to refine the life stream, slapped the name Mako on it, and used it to power everything, leaving the coal industry to go up in flames, both financially and very literally. Shinra began branching out to build Mako reactors throughout the world in order to increase production and monopolize the energy industry. You know, capitalism at its finest. The first reactor was created on Mount Nibel in 1968. Nibelheim, the hometown of our protagonists Cloud Strife and Tifa Lockhart, was originally a base camp for hikers to climb the mountains. Now, with their first Mako reactor built, Shinra essentially annexed Nibelheim and built what's known as the Shinra Manor. Shortly after, Shinra had begun production of Midgar in 1969. Minus a plate that fell in 76, Midgar was nearly finished by 1977, ushering in a new era in Gaia. In 1977, a scientist named Professor Gas Faramis found Jenova in a 2,000-year-old stratum. What the fuck is a stratum? Hold on one second. Oh, so that's what that means. Cool. By July, Jenova was considered an ancient. Yeah, that checks out. Near the end of Midgar's completion, the Jenova project was issued by President Shinra when the idea of the fabled Promised Land became a possibility once Jenova was declared an ancient. Since the ancients are dead like the dinosaurs, the goal of the Jenova project was to create an artificial ancient that will lead Shinra to the Promised Land, where the life stream is abundant. More life stream equals more money. Equals more bitches. By this time, President Shinra has approved of the Soldier Project. Enter Professors Lucrezia Crescent, Hojo, and Hollander to work on what was left of Professor Gast's findings. The reason I say what was left is because between the years of 1977 and 1984, the Soldier Project did nothing but kill its subjects. By the end of all this, Professor Gast finally saw what his findings led to. He left his resignation and disappeared, attempting to hide from Shinra and get back to discovering the history of the ancients for its own sake. Without Professor Gas and his missing piece, the Soldier Project was a bust. Within this time, Dr. Lucrezia and Dr. Grimoire Valentine, another scientist and father to protagonist Vincent Valentine, began a side project revolving around the weapon known as Omega, as well as its herald, Chaos. It started by observing the stagnation of the life stream, basically magic smog, most likely caused by Mako production. Unfortunately, Grimoire's name was too cool, so he died. After which, Vincent, a member of the Turks at this point, is assigned to Lucrezia as a bodyguard. They have a will they, won't they flirtationship, and it comes to an end once the Jenova project is brought into full effect. The Jenova project consists of Professor Hollander, who was in charge of Project G, named after Gillian Hewley. She was injected with Jenova cells before getting pregnant with her son, Angeal. Another boy named Genesis Rhapsodos was born around the same time with Gillian's mutated genes implanted on him while he was in the womb of his mother. And if you think that's messed up, check this out! This woman had this man's child. They focused on injecting an unborn child with Jenova cells while in the womb. This was known as Project S. The child that was the result was named Sephiroth, the son of Hojo, Lucrezia, and Jenova. Sephiroth, Genesis, and Angeal were all born around the same time, but the effects of their birth will be seen further in time. Elsewhere, Shinra began finding very interesting things during their excavations. One of them being the discovery of the fricking emerald weapon in a mine on an uninhabited island. And much like a kid who broke a vase, Shinra straight up buried the mine and hoped what they saw would just go away. For added measure, they built a town on top of the collapsed mine, naming it Benora. This will come up later. After Sephiroth's birth, he was taken to Shinra HQ, where his unique genetic code and abilities could be observed and tested, leaving Lucrezia in a manic state.
Give it back! Give my son back! And how is your experiment proceeding? I don't care!
Look, I get it, but at the same time, she's always like this.
Lucrezia, this file.
It's none of your business.
But it is. Why didn't you tell me you worked with my father?
Stop it! Just stop it!
I really hate everything about you.
Vincent decided to confront Hojo on all of these unethical practices and how Lucrezia was treated. Hojo took the criticism well.
Silence!
Hojo then proceeded to do what he does best, experimenting on people without their permission. Hojo had managed to create a monster, capable of being human and then transforming himself into different types of beasts, from a galleon beast to... Is that Frankenstein's monster? Is that Leatherface? This is where Lucrezia's chaos research pays off. Lucrezia managed to keep Vincent alive by injecting him with the chaos factor and the proto-materia, which just randomly showed up when chaos was summoned forth? I don't know. After saving Vincent's life, Lucrezia, having felt the Jenova within her bubbling to the surface, disappeared without a trace. Vincent's guilt weighed heavy on him, being unable to stop Lucrezia from continuing the Jenova project, and leading to her eventual disappearance. Vincent, now a monster, unsure of what to do with himself, decided to hide away in the Shinra Manor, staying in a coffin like the vampire he is, until one day he would be awoken to save the planet and correct his sin. Professor Gast had escaped Shinra and was hiding in the northern continent at the Icicle Inn. There, he met Ifalna, a full-blooded ancient. Ifalna explains to Gast that Jenova was in fact not an ancient, or Cetra as they're actually called. Not to mention that Jenova is an absolute menace and what she's actually capable of. They both fell in love and had a baby named Aerith. Shortly after her birth, and I mean short, like literally 20 days later, Shinra found where Professor Gast was hiding. Hojo arrived to say, "No hard feelings," and took Ifalna and Aerith to live in captivity at Shinra HQ. There, Ifalna is experimented on by Hojo, who is now in charge of the Research and Development Division. Shinra continued on with their aggressive expansion, but with corporate takeover, I mean change, comes resistance. A few places refused to allow Mako reactors to be built on their lands. With the accumulated wealth at their disposal from the areas that either agreed to have Mako reactors built or were just unpopulated, Shinra had enough money to form a privatized military. While there was a time when the people known as the Redor were allies of Shinra, Shinra nearly wiped out the Redor Archipelago's initial forces when they decided to withdraw from their alliance. Shinra allowed the remaining population to live, but we'll be back a decade later after a certain caged bird heard that there may be a potential area rich for Mako excavation. But Wutai Wutai's refusal led to a 16-year-long war, setting forth the beginning of Shinra's downfall. And that's all I got for this video, otherwise it would be going on for God knows how long. And because I felt I've talked your ear off enough, I think I'll call the video here. Be sure to tune in for the next video where I discuss the events of Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier, and go in depth on some of our more important characters in the franchise as they appear. If you feel that I missed a couple things up to this point, or you want to talk about your favorite piece of lore, feel free to comment below. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go take a nap.